Welcome surfers, it is Joel and this is a coding sound lesson number 2. Alright, before we start to typing actual code, we need to understand how to set up all the stage needed to write this code in the best way. So we need to talk about the toolchain that we need. Basically, the toolchain that we need is a bunch of software, a software environment that allow us to start from code, human readable code, and transform it in a real audio plugin that makes sound. First of all, our source code is in C++. So we need a compiler, a tool that transform this C++ code into binary instruction that your processor can understand. In our context for this course, we work inside a Microsoft Windows environment, so the best thing to do maybe is to use Microsoft Visual C++, the Microsoft compiler, also called MSVC. On top all of this compiler we need another component, the IDE. The IDE is a software that manages all source file and manage also the compiler for you. On top of that we can add another layer, the JUICE framework. You can think of JUICE like a huge library that contain a bunch of pre-written code that handle all the boring stuff needed to produce sound with a computer, with a machine. So, for example, audio drivers for multiple platforms, graphics stuff, or VS3 standard formatting. So, with our code, we can focus only on the interesting stuff, the signal processing and the synth architecture. First things to do is to get the IDE. The IDE you need to download and install is Visual Studio. You can see here the main page of Visual Studio, Community Edition. The Community Edition is sorry, the Community Edition is free to use. You can install at no cost, no charges. A quick warning here: you don't confuse Visual Studio with Visual Studio Code. Visual Studio Code is a great tool, but it's just a text editor with superpowers. It's not a fully flagged IDE, integrated development environment. So do not confuse these two tools. We need Visual Studio Community Edition, the full IDE. When you have Visual Studio Community installed in your machine, you also need to download and install Git. Git is a distributed VCS, a version control system. Git is full open source, is completely free, so you can download and install in the machine that you use without any problem. Perfect. Now you have all the tools that you need to work with JUICE, C++, and all the stuff that we need to create our synth. But now we must download the JUICE library somewhere. And I have a pro tip for you. I highly recommend treating JUICE as a submodule inside your specific project folder. You can also install JUICE globally on your C drive, but this can create a lot of problem with what we call the dependency hell. There are many occasions for update the JUICE library in the future, and when you update the library, if you have a specific submodule inside the project, you have zero problem. You won't break up other projects, other old project when you update your single global JUICE installation. Okay, let's open our terminal. First of all, we need a folder, a working folder, called Coding Sounds Synth. Inside the Coding Sound Synth, we can download the JUICE framework. So we use git clone with the GitHub address of JUICE library. Perfect. It takes a while, and after the download you have the JUICE library on your project folder. Perfect. Now, for managing the project, we are going to use CMake. JUICE used in the past to rely on another tool called ProJuicer, but CMake is the modern choice, the modern standard, because it makes the code more portable, and it makes for you much easier to version control your code. So, starting, let's build the structure for a CMake project. The first file that we need is a text file named CMake list. So, we can create a new file called CMake list. Perfect. Inside this file we need to declare something about CMake and something about the specific project that we need to generate with CMake. So starting with general information about CMake and JUICE, and let's see. With these lines we have create a new project called the Coding Sound Synth version 001. We have declared the CMake specific version to use, and we have added the JUICE subdirectory, but turning off something like example and extras, because we do not need to compile this part of the library. Is only wasted time. So now we can write the settings to generate our JUICE GUI application. In this line we declare source file, the main source file. In this case is the entry point of our simple minimal JUICE application, and in this specific example is also the only source file that we need to start with a blank application. Now we need to set up the compiler, so we need to link a specific part of JUICE to this compilation, and we also need to generate the JUICE header to import in our source file. Perfect. Our CMake configuration file is ready to use, but it's not the only configuration that we need to have a fully functional workspace inside the IDE, inside Visual Studio. So we need also another file called CMake settings.json. Okay, in this case we can simply copy and paste a standard configuration for a CMake project. Okay, you can find all these settings file in the links under this video, and obviously in the article related to this specific version, specific lesson of the course. So, now we need the actual C++ code. So, to create a clean structure, we need a new folder called source. and inside this folder we can create the source file main.c++. Okay, first of all we can include the juice header that we create with the CMake. So include okay. And now we can create the main application window. Is a very simple and empty window that inherits from the standard juice document window. Inside this class we need to write the constructor that use a very minimal and standard configuration. Now we have a simple window with the native title bar, the standard title bar, and a new juice component inside that is empty, is a simple, very simple window. Now we can set up this window for our operating system. Perfect. Now we need to manage things to close gracefully the application when the user press the close button, and for this there is a specific function of the juice document window. Okay. And for now the last thing is to declare a macro that is needed to manage the detection of memory leaks in debug builds. If you are already a user developer, for sure you already know the exact meaning of this macro. If you are not, you can simply copy it without no questions. Okay, now we need the main application class. Is the class that manages the real lifetime of our application. And inside this class we need to create our main juice window. The next lines are application settings. So we need to declare the application name, the application version, and we need to write an initialization function that create the actual main window. Inside our initialization we simply create a new main window with our name coding sound synth. This is now a private smart pointer that point to our main window. This is needed, is a smart pointer because we need to ensure proper cleanup when our window is destroyed. And outside our two classes we need another macro. This is the macro that create the application entry point and that initialize all the juice library. Perfect. All the heavy lifting is done. Everything is set up, so we simply need to open this project inside the IDE, inside Visual Studio. To do this, we simply open Visual Studio and click on the Open Project from Folder button. This is the right button. Press this and select the folder that you created a couple of minutes ago with your CMake configuration and your source code inside. To set up the project, simply press the project menu and select configure cache with CMake debugger. And now we can try to build this application. Perfect, now let's try if our empty window can be executed. Cool. This is a small, completely empty window, but this is a very important milestone because you have just successfully compiled and launched your very first useful application. Now you in the next episode need to make some noise with the juice, but this simple empty window is already a very interesting thing to create. In the description under the lesson you can find all the useful links to resources needed to complete the lesson, and also to the article. In the article you can find all the code and all the settings, the CMake settings. For now it's all. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button and to keep your thinking cap on.